Most people who use horseradish have never thought of it as medicine. They put it on a roast, close the jar, and forget about it. But researchers at the University of Maryland studied the antimicrobial activity of horseradish root and found it inhibited several bacterial strains that are commonly responsible for respiratory and urinary tract infections, including some strains that were resistant to standard treatment. That study was published over 2 decades ago, and almost nobody talks about it. Horseradish has been used as medicine for at least 2,000 years across 3 continents. It appears in ancient Greek records, in medieval European herbalism, and in traditional Ayurvedic practice. It is classified as a drug plant in Germany's official Commission E monographs, the German government's formal review body for herbal medicine. Horseradish's story as medicine doesn't begin in a laboratory. It begins in Northern Europe, somewhere around the early Middle Ages. Monks in German monasteries were among the first to document it systematically. They were the record keepers of the era, and they were also the healers. When a person came in with a chest infection, lungs full of fluid, barely able to breathe, the monks had very few tools. No antibiotics, no decongestants. What they did have was a root they called myrtich, sea radish. They would grate it fresh, mix it with vinegar or honey, and give it to the patient. What they observed was a clearing of the airways. Mucus would loosen. The patient could breathe more freely. They didn't know why, they just knew it worked. You have seen horseradish. If you have ever opened a jar of prepared horseradish sauce, or eaten a beef dish at a European-style restaurant, you have encountered it. The fresh root looks plain, white, thick, almost like a parsnip. It smells like nothing until you cut it. The moment you cut into it, the smell is sharp, immediate, almost aggressive. That sharpness is not accidental. It is the plant's defense system, and it is also its medicine. Horseradish, Armoracea rusticana, is native to southeastern Europe and Western Asia. It spread westward with Roman trade routes and became deeply embedded in Central and Northern European folk medicine by the 10th century. Ancient Greek physician Dioscorides listed it in his medical writings. Jewish communities in Eastern Europe incorporated it into Passover traditions, the maror, or bitter herb, centuries before its medicinal profile was formally studied. In 16th century England, herbalist John Gerard wrote about its use for clearing congestion and stimulating digestion. German physicians of the same era used it for urinary conditions, respiratory infections, and as a topical treatment for joint pain. In 1992, Germany's Commission E, a scientific advisory body that evaluated hundreds of herbal medicines for safety and efficacy, formally approved horseradish root for the supportive treatment of respiratory tract infections and urinary tract infections. That is not folklore, that is a government-level medical endorsement. A clinical study published in Arzneimittelforschung, a German peer-reviewed pharmaceutical journal, evaluated a proprietary preparation combining horseradish root with nasturtium. It was a randomized, double-blind trial. The study found the preparation to be comparably effective to standard antibiotic treatment for sinusitis and bronchitis, with a favorable safety profile. The preparation is sold in Germany and other European countries as a registered medicinal product. A separate laboratory study published in the Journal of Food Science found that fresh horseradish root extract demonstrated significant antibacterial activity against E. coli, Salmonella, and Listeria monocytogenes. These are not obscure pathogens. These are among the most common causes of foodborne illness worldwide. The mechanism is the glucosinolate compounds in the root, specifically sinigrin, which convert to isothiocyanates when the root is crushed or cut. Isothiocyanates are the active antimicrobial molecules. They are also what makes your eyes water. Harvesting and sourcing. Horseradish is a hardy perennial. If you are in a temperate climate, Europe, North America, or similar, it grows easily in any reasonably fertile soil. The roots are harvested in autumn, typically October through November, after the leaves begin to die back. Early spring, before the plant puts energy into new leaf growth, is also an acceptable harvest window. When harvesting, Look for roots that are firm, white on the inside, and free from dark spots. Fresh root should have a pungent, sharp smell immediately upon cutting. If you are buying commercially, look for whole fresh roots at Asian or Eastern European grocery stores. Avoid pre-grated prepared horseradish in jars for medicinal purposes. These are typically preserved with vinegar and sometimes sugar, which dilutes the active compounds. If you grow your own or find it fresh, use it quickly. Once grated, the isothiocyanates begin to degrade within minutes. Working fast preserves potency. How to use it. The most straightforward medicinal preparation is fresh root grated into raw honey. Approximately 1 teaspoon of freshly grated horseradish root mixed with 1 tablespoon of raw honey. Taken slowly, this can help loosen mucus during respiratory illness and support the airways. For urinary support, a traditional preparation is horseradish root tea, roughly 20 grams of fresh, grated root, steeped in 150 milliliters of warm, not boiling water, for 10 minutes, then strained and consumed up to twice daily. The Commission E guidelines use this general range as a reference dose for adults. Topically, grated horseradish applied in a cloth compress, not directly to the skin, has been traditionally used for joint pain and muscle tension. Do not apply the raw grated root directly to bare skin for extended periods. It will cause irritation. Most people associate horseradish with colds and sinus congestion. That is fair. That is its most documented use. But there is a second category of traditional use that is less talked about: liver support and digestive stimulation. Traditional Central European herbalism consistently lists horseradish as a cholagogue, a substance that stimulates bile production and flow from the liver into the small intestine. Bile is not just a digestive fluid, it is the body's primary mechanism for excreting fat-soluble waste products, including certain metabolic byproducts and environmental compounds. A 2005 study published in Phytotherapy Research looked at the effect of horseradish root extract on liver enzyme activity in animal models. It found an upregulation of certain detoxification enzymes, specifically phase 2 enzymes, in liver tissue. Phase 2 enzymes are part of the liver's second-stage detoxification process, where compounds are made water-soluble so they can be excreted. This is not a miracle claim. It is a mechanistic observation from controlled research. But it does suggest that horseradish's historical use as a digestive bitter and liver tonic had a plausible biochemical basis. Practical use for digestion. A small amount of fresh grated horseradish, half a teaspoon, taken before a heavy meal, can stimulate digestive secretions and support fat digestion. This is exactly how it has been used in traditional European cuisine for centuries. The pairing of horseradish with fatty meats like roast beef is not just flavor habit. It was functional food logic. If you are watching this and you have not subscribed yet, this is the kind of content we make. No hype, no filler, just what the research actually says, and what traditional medicine has known for centuries before the research caught up. Sinigrin is the primary glucosinolate in horseradish root. When the root cell walls are broken, by grating, cutting, or chewing, sinigrin comes into contact with an enzyme called myrosinase, which is stored separately in the same root. The contact converts sinigrin into allyl isothiocyanate. This is the molecule responsible for the sharp, nasal clearing sensation. Allyl isothiocyanate has been studied for antimicrobial activity against a range of pathogens, anti-inflammatory effects via prostaglandin inhibition, and the upregulation of NRF2, a protein that activates the body's own antioxidant defense genes. Horseradish also contains peroxidase enzymes. Horseradish peroxidase is one of the most studied enzymes in biochemical research, used extensively in laboratory diagnostics. This same enzyme in the raw root contributes to its anti-inflammatory profile. Horseradish belongs to the Brassicaceae family, the same family as broccoli, mustard, and wasabi. Wasabi, real wasabi, Wasabia japonica, not the common green paste made from horseradish and food coloring. has a pharmacological profile that overlaps significantly with horseradish, but with some notable differences in its antiplatelet and neuroprotective research. Medical disclaimer. Horseradish root is not a substitute for medical evaluation or treatment. If you have kidney disease, thyroid conditions, or are on blood-thinning medication, speak with your healthcare provider before using horseradish root medicinally. If a respiratory or urinary infection is not improving or is severe, seek professional medical care. This is Fresh Roots. We find what was forgotten, we read what was written, and we bring it back, clearly, honestly, and without exaggeration. See you in the next one.